Welcome to a quick tutorial on how to play Blitz Candy War. We're super excited to share it with you. We want to make this video as quick and concise as possible. So let's get right into it. Let's go, Nika!
Let's do it.
To the table!
Why?
Okay, so let's get started with setup. So in a two-player game, each player controls two bases. And as you can see, we've got 3 health tokens on each base. And you also start with 2 scouts on these rally points. Rally points are the spaces where you can place new units onto the field during the game. So here's the setup for a 3-player game. And some of the differences are, obviously each player only has 1 base because there's only 3 bases. And in any game mode where you only have 1 base, you put 4 health tokens on that base instead of 3. Each player starts with 2 scouts, 1 on each of their available rally points. Now the difference between these 2 rally points is that the ones that have a filled dot are protected rally points. The ones that are not filled and just have a circle in the middle are unprotected rally points. What that means is that enemies can move over them and block you from being able to use them during the game. Whereas with protected rally points, your opponents cannot move over your protected rally points. And here is the setup for a 4-player game. Same as with the 3-player map, each base has 4 health tokens and each player only controls 1 base. Now the difference between the other maps and this larger map is that the 2 players on this side would share all 5 of these rally points. So technically, to start off the game, you can start your 2 scouts on any of these 5 rally points. You just might want to work it out with your teammate. You have unprotected rally points on the sides, and then you have protected rally points here marked by the filled dots. The goal of the game is to destroy your opponent's bases, which are marked with turrets. And yes, the turrets are literally gumball machines with cannons on them. These 4 health tokens on top of each base represent how many hits it can take before it's destroyed. In a 4-player game, which we have set up here, if the red player loses all 4 of their tokens, they're actually not quite out of the game. If they had a bunch of units on the field, they get to keep those units. But since the red player lost their base, they can now only have up to 2 units on the field for the rest of the game, other than the units that were left on the field when the base was destroyed. So let's say red player's base is destroyed. They get to keep these 3 units, but they can't place any more units on the field because the max they can have is technically only 2. So once a couple of these are destroyed, now they can finally place another unit on the field. And we're going to go over all those rules and details in just a little bit. Let's talk about this capturable rally point here in the center real quick. It is an unprotected rally point, but it doesn't belong to either team until they capture this colored zone in the center. So for example, if I had a unit here in this zone and my opponent's team did not have a unit in the zone, my whole team, and that would be me and green if we were doing a 4-player game, can use this unprotected rally point here in the center. We can place new units on top of it, and that way they're closer to the opponent's bases so we can go in and attack. But once I move out of this zone, I can no longer use that rally point, and it's up for grabs for any other team. If I'm in there and my opponent moves in there, neither of us can use that rally point because the capturable territory is contested, and so neither of us can use the rally point. So what's awesome about Blitz is that it is real time, and that only works because of the app that we've developed for the game. So all you need to do to open the web app is go to play.blitzboardgame.com on any mobile device, and you'll be met with a screen like this. Now, one thing to note is that the web app loves Chrome. Chrome seems to be the browser that allows the app to perform its best, and we have noticed that some browsers, Safari included, have slowed down the performance of the game. So to start the game, all you have to do is hit Start Game. You can actually choose a background, choose your army color, and hit Next. Now, we actually have a screen for choosing handicaps as well. Let's say one of you keeps winning over and over and over and over again. That's no fun after a certain point, so whoever's winning should take a handicap. And once you hit Ready, you'll be met with a screen that looks like this. And what you're going to want to do is wait until all other players are ready and all hit play together at the same time. You'll notice here you have an option to use in-app dice, and what that means is that if you don't have dice, then you can actually have the game roll dice for you. In this game and in this tutorial, we're going to use real dice. 3, 2, 1, go. Every time you want to do something in the game, every single action that you take needs to be preceded by hitting a button first, and that's the whole point of the web app. So if I want to move one of my units, I hit a move button, I also say move out loud, and then I move my unit. So it's going to look something like this. Move. Every time you hit a move button, you can move one of your units one space, and it doesn't have to be forward. For example, if I wanted to move backward, I could totally do the same thing, move. Every time you hit a button, it starts a cooldown timer, and each button has a different amount of time that it takes to refill so that you can use it again. Now, before we start talking about the other buttons, about attacking, about placing new units, let's finish talking about moving. For example, you can chain two movements together before you actually move your unit. So I could say move, move while I hit the buttons, and move a unit twice. Another thing that I can do is I can move units together if they're adjacent to each other. So I could start by saying move and move this unit over next to the other one. Now that they're adjacent to each other, they are part of a troop and they can move together. So now by hitting one movement action, I can move both of them together, but they have to stay together. Move. As long as the two units stay together and they only move the one space together, then it doesn't matter what orientation they end up in. Even though these two units are together, I can just move one, move. I could also do something like this to kind of move around this wall that's here, move, and I'm kind of changing their orientation, move. And these movements are valid because both of the units are staying together and neither of them is moving more than one space each time I hit the move action. This rule with moving multiple units works with up to 3 units. All the same rules still apply. They have to only move one space each and they have to stay together. Scouts and tanks, which are the units included in the base game, are not able to move onto the Hot Fudge Lakes or other obstructions. Alright, let's talk about attacking. Now, there's only one attack button, and it takes 12 seconds to refill. Both scouts and tanks have a range of 1, so that means they can attack from one space away. You have to be adjacent to an enemy unit in order to attack them. So, if me and my opponent move towards each other, move, move, movement. Now we're in range of each other to attack. In order to attack, just like with any other action, you have to hit the button that's related to that action first. So I'm going to hit attack and declare it out loud. Whenever you go to attack, you also need to roll the corresponding number of dice according to whatever type of unit you're attacking with. Now, there's 2 different types of units included in the base game of Blitz. You have scouts, which look like a cupcake with some peanut butter cups for wheels, a lollipop cannon on top, and some chocolate armor on the sides. Sorry, it's not really focusing very well. And then you've got your brownie tanks, which are made of a big brownie with some wafer treads on the sides, some macaroons with Smarties glued together for cannons. So the difference between the scouts and the tanks is that the scouts, when they attack, they only get 1 die. Tanks, they get to roll 2 dice. So since I hit my attack button and declared my attack, what I would do is I would roll 1 die. Results that are 3 or higher are considered successful hits. So my 4 that I just rolled, I can deal 1 damage to one enemy that's in range of my unit. In this case, it's obviously only the scout, and each unit only has 1 health. 1 successful hit is enough to destroy a unit. So I would take my opponent's unit off the field and return it to her. What if I actually have 2 scouts against my opponent's 1 scout? Do I get to roll 2 dice? Well, actually you do. Attack. So in this case, I rolled a 3 and a 2. The 2 is a miss, but each result that's 3 or higher is considered a successful hit. So because I landed this 3, I do get to do 1 damage and destroy my enemy's unit. So here's my tank versus my opponent's scout. And once again, we're gonna say my opponent doesn't attack. Maybe they're going really, really easy on me. Attack. Now tanks, even by themselves, get to roll 2 dice. So I'd pick up my 2 dice and roll them. And it works the same as everything else. I get to deal my 1 damage to my enemy. And so I would take their unit off the field and return it to them. Now what if it was the other way around? When I go to attack, attack. Because I'm attacking with a scout, I only get my 1 die. But by landing a successful hit, I still get to destroy my opponent's unit, even though it's a tank and my unit is a scout. Let's take a look at one more quick example. Alright, so I've got my scout and my tank up next to my opponent's scout and tank. Attack. I landed 2 successful hits. And I technically don't have to choose which troop I'm attacking with until after I roll my dice. Obviously, I only have the 1 troop in range, and I can deal both of these successful hits to different units. So I'm going to deal 1 damage to the scout and 1 damage to the tank. Now let's rewind real quick. What if one of these was only a 2 and therefore a miss? Can I take my 3 and destroy my opponent's tank? Actually, no, I can't. In Blitz, if you are attacking multiple units that you're in range of, you have to destroy the lowest ranked adjacent unit first. So if my enemy's scout was out of range, then that scout is out of the picture. I can't even attack it anyway. So if I were to destroy the lowest ranked adjacent unit, it would be the tank. Scouts, since they're weaker, they're considered to be a lower rank than tanks. So if I'm adjacent to both and I only have the one successful hit, I have to destroy the scout first. And that's my only successful hit, so I can't destroy the tank. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about probably the most chaotic and fun part of Blitz, and that is dueling. If my opponent chooses to attack at the same time as me, then that initiates a duel. Technically, it doesn't even have to be at the exact same time. After I hit my attack button and declare my attack, my opponent has 1 second to hit their attack button and declare their attack. If the two attacks happen within 1 second of each other, then it's considered a duel. When an attack button is hit, it looks a little different than the move buttons and the other buttons that are on the screen. When I hit a move button, it immediately goes to gray. Move, tank, scout. They immediately go dark. But with the attack button, there's an animation, attack. That animation happens exactly over the course of 1 second. You'll want to kind of keep an eye on your opponent's app and device when you go to attack, especially if you're trying to initiate a duel, you're trying to counterattack them, you'll want to just keep an eye on their button and make sure that you're hitting your attack before that white goes away. Depending on people's feedback at the time that you watch this video, we might have actually changed this to be 2 seconds. Let's see an example of this. In a duel, we go in order from the highest rolled die to the lowest. Move, move, attack.
Attack.
6-2.
3-1.
So my 6 goes first. I have to destroy the lowest ranked adjacent unit. I would take off my opponent's scout because it is the lowest ranked unit adjacent to my troop.
And since my 3 is the next highest, now I can do my damage to his tank.
She can do that because my tank is now the lowest ranked adjacent unit to her troop. Because the rest of her troop is just the tank. My scout is out of range, so she has to use that 3 to destroy the tank. If I had placed my units to be somewhat more like this, I would have only lost a scout. And then as always, 2s and 1s are misses, even in a duel. Quick rewind, what about a tie? Let's say me and my opponent both roll a 3 and a 5. We go from highest to lowest, but we tied for the highest. So we both do damage to one of each other's units at the same time. The lowest ranked adjacent unit to each other's troops. So the lowest ranked adjacent unit to my troop is this scout, but my opponent does it at the same time, so the lowest ranked adjacent unit to her troop is also my scout. Then we move on to the 3s. We both also tied for the next highest, so we both do our damage at the same time, and we would destroy each other's units. Now, these gumball turrets aren't just for aesthetics. The reason that each of the bases is marked with a turret is because each base can also attack. And it works the same as attacking with any other unit. You have to use your attack button just like any other attack. So I would just hit attack. The turrets on bases, when they attack, they get to roll 2 dice like a tank. I got a 3 and a 1. 3 is a successful hit, so I can destroy my opponent's unit.
Attack.
Okay, so since my opponent landed 2 successful hits, she gets to take away 2 health tokens from my base. Ouch. You can always choose to attack a turret if you're in range of that turret. So if my opponent wanted to, they could choose to attack my turret, or they can choose to do damage to the scout.
Attack. 6-4.
Once again, ouch. Remember, the goal of the game is to destroy your opponent's bases by attacking them and removing the health tokens. My turret, just like any other unit, can duel as long as I have my attack action available. So if my opponent attacks, attack, I can attack back. I get my 2 dice. 4-2.
5-1.
So just like in any other duel, my opponent gets to go first because she landed the higher hit. I go next, and I did land a successful hit, so I get to deal 1 damage to the lowest ranked adjacent unit. In this circumstance, it's just the tank, so I would destroy her tank. So my opponent moves in and attacks my base.
Move, attack.
Attack.
6s.
Okay, my opponent landed 2 6s. She gets to do both of her damage before I get to do mine. Now, since my turret is still alive because it still has 1 health, I still get to do my damage. So I'm going to do my 5 to the lowest ranked adjacent unit, and now my 4 to the next lowest ranked adjacent unit. The last 2 actions we haven't talked about are the unit actions, scout and tank. These buttons are what allow you to place new units on the field onto your rally points. Now keep in mind, you have to have a rally point available when you hit the unit button in order to place a unit on that space. Works the same as any other button. Once it's hit, you can't hit it again until the cooldown timer is done and it has the white circle around it again. Now I've captured this territory here in the center. I can use this rally point. Tank. I'll place a tank here on this rally point. I also have a scout available. I can choose to use it and place it right here, But I think what I'll do is I'll move my tank back, move, and I'll place my scout right here. Now I have 3 units together, and they can move together. Move.
If you like this video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more updates, giveaways, and to get notified when we launch on Kickstarter.
If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to answer any questions that you have. If anything comes up during the game, anything that we might not have covered, we would love to go and answer those for you. There's still time to get the Blitz Candy War Print and Play 2.0. This may be our last print and play, even our last demo at all, before we do launch on Kickstarter. We'd love for you to check it out. We'd love for you to try out the game. So go grab that, go snag it real quick. The link is in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and have fun obliterating your friends in real time.